we talked a little bit, we talked a little bit about how you have prepared yourself and how, sometimes in preparing, the unpreparedness becomes useful as well, but in your experience, what would be some of the important things you need to bring with you? Not just the items, but how do you bring yourself there? How do you make yourself present there?
You want to start?
Yeah. I started knowing where I wanted to position myself with social media. Sorry, I want to talk about this one because I tend to post quite a lot of things. So I said, okay, Oniatta, no. But my husband's fantastic. He's like doing a net journal. Like, okay, this means what? And he's not even cutting, screen grabbing and cut paste info. No, he's researching and typing out info. So I would repost that. So I was conscious of that to even like not be too caught up with social media. Pros and cons, to each his own, right? But it's also finding our rhythm. So that's part of finding the rhythm, right? Your relationship with social media, and even if you use it, what is it for? Finding a rhythm even when we're not praying. So people are saying, Oniatta, is it go there and then just mayang in the masjid from subuh to isha? No, you're living. You're stepping out of the masjid. You have to eat.
Right.
You have to talk to your husband. And if you're with Jum'ah, you interact with the Jum'ah. So we kind of found that rhythm, and our rhythm gravitated us to Starbucks for my for my hot cup of
Toffee nut latte.
Latte.
It was so funny because he always signs off as Ismail, and I said, "Why is your name Ismail? Oh, it's easier for them to understand." I said, "Why don't you just tell them your name is Nizam?" So he did, and then the sticker said Aznam.
You should have trusted him.
Yeah, it's about finding more pockets of time that you still enjoy your little indulgences, right? So that was important. But finding your own rhythm also, you can be hyper, devoted there if you choose to, and if you do that, then by all means do that, right? Because typically when you go for a tour, there are multiple opportunities for you to do Umrah, and here. Again, if you want to do it, by all means, go ahead. But there's also this other school of thought that, see, when the Holy Prophet went for Umrah, each time he visits, he only does it once. Right. And there is some wisdom behind that, because you really want to make that your best one, right? You really go all out to make sure that's your best show to God. And again, there's no right or wrong in this, but I think you need to also pace yourself and take care of yourself.
Right.
And the reason why we didn't go for the subsequent Umrahs was really because my feet were hurting from the first one.
Right.
I felt very sick.
And you felt very sick. So, and I think taking care of health again is an important part of the journey, because you can fall sick quite easily. There are people coughing a lot in the mosque, and most people are not masked up.
Yeah.
Right.
So you need to just take care of yourself, because if you don't, then you can't do more.
Yeah.
And of course, eventually we both succumb to the notorious cough and flu, post-Makkah cough and flu. But again, take care of yourself. And again, one tip that if I were to do it again, is that if going for your sa'i especially, please put on footwear if you want to. You can.
That's right.
And I think there's a lot of wisdom to that, because some of the tiles are quite
cold.
Sharp. The edges can be, when you have multiple or repeated poundings on that, it can hurt your feet.
That's
so take care of yourself. Would be one tip.
I think you asked about preparedness, right? I think I wasn't mentally prepared for long bus rides. I think it's age. I think it's age that if you why is it I could do bus rides to Singapore to KL in 5 hours and be fine when we get off and still go do what you want to do, but why was it a very long journey for me? So there are options, right? There's the train,
right.
There's the bus, there's even options of where you want your flight to land. So these are decisions that people can make, choices that they have in order to make the journey comfortable. I don't think there's anything wrong in making a journey comfortable. Sometimes there's always people who say, oh, you need to be frugal and feel the suffering and all that. But at the end of the day, you want to be at your best when you're going to ibadah, right? After a
True.
long journey, it can be quite challenging.
That's right.
So I think the next time we go, I want to take train. I don't know whether it's nice. You took the train.
I took the train. It's really, really, really nice. Not just about nice, but I think it's really helpful because it allows good 2 hours of rest. Before you actually go in and then do your own. Because the process has always been the moment you leave Medina, you will want to perform Umrah the moment you arrive. So a good rest is really, really essential.
Yeah. So the
Yeah, I
bus
think-
rides were long, and I was holding on
Yeah.
to my bladder for the longest of time. I've trained
that's the
myself,
other thing,
Yeah, I've trained
right?
myself to be a camel. Don't drink so much. Don't go toilet. I don't know where camel go toilet also lah. But the thing is, and because it's so hard for us to when we are all with a telekong and our jubas and all that to have to go to a public toilet. I had a mental block, so I would just hold it in until I reached. It's a good 5-6 hours. I think that's mental prep. Not saying that the bus ride was bad. I'm just saying that mentally we have to be prepared for that.
That's right. That's right.
But you have to be mentally prepared for the restrooms as well.
There, that's an important reminder.
Just without going into details, you might not, if you're familiar with the standard of hygiene here, it's a bit of an eye opener, quite literally. So I actually just sharing with you guys, right, how I actually clean a toilet because it was really, really very bad. But then, if you, so the option of train travel, I think is wonderful because it halves the journey time.
That's right.
But how do you have to lug on your luggage to the train?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. We just having to bring in our hand carry and that's it.
Okay, that's wonderful then.
Yeah, because the buses yang bawa
take
the
care
thing.
of the
Yes,
bags.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so that's something we want to look at. On the mental preparedness, the other thing was this: we prepared to see a lot of people, and you see the best of people, and you see the worst of people. So the shoving, the elbow on your head because you're short, the pushing. But that's just how it is. I mean, we all conflict to a place, and the different types of ways in which they worship. Some of the voices are very loud. Some people pray in very different ways.
That's right.
But to take it all in, and I think it was a good practice because for me, a lot of people are saying, Oniatta, mulut jaga, because sometimes we're so quick to pass judgment or say anything. So it was really a test of patience. Interestingly, there was one occasion where someone was really squeezing and I just turned around. It was one of those Eastern European women. I turned around and said, Sabar, please. Then she held me and she lifted me up because I'm so small. And she put me in front of her. And so she was taking care of me as we went, out of the masjid because it's so packed. So I think that mental preparedness helped a lot.
Right.
The other thing was this, because it's our first time and we were being briefed about what to do in our rites, right? When you dua and you go around the Kaaba, and we were given a book for this. And it was so funny because we were entering and then the Ustad turns and says, agency kasih buku kan? Up to you, you want to use the buku or you want to follow me? And then I look at his book and it was a really thick book. And I was holding an English book, know. But when I was comparing, well, language different and certain, nuances are different. And he said, I said, Ustad, Kak Oni nak pakai buku sendiri? You want to use your own book? I said, yeah, Ustad, it's in English. Okay, good. Then when you go in, you want to conform, right, to what it was. The form was this. There was him saying, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and then you also want to echo. And then you're holding on to the book. So there was a bit of confusion. And again, back to finding our rhythm. So what I did was, okay, let's go. At the go of Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, I went to my book and I realized that 7 parts was actually written in such a way that it covers all the various things from forgiveness to your parents to your husband or your wife, And then halfway through and the book is finished, I would then follow what the Ustad would say. If he's going into Ya Aziz, I would follow. So I found that rhythm. And I think it would be very overwhelming for me without the book because how do you start that conversation when there's mass, of people?
Yeah, because you were also needing to be concerned about your safety, especially in Makkah. You were concerned about your safety. You were concerned about, ensuring that you have a fruitful dua, and you were also focusing on making sure that you don't your skin don't touch another person lah. The rules and regulation.
And not losing, you're so afraid that,
Right.
like, in that crowd where Nizam would be. But yeah.
I think there's no right or wrong in this. I mean, I can understand why some people would like to have the security of following mutawif's lead, because it's the first, especially if you're first time.
Yes.
And there is a certain structure and etiquette of how you make your supplications.
Yes.
So completely understand that. But I did also find that personally that so we had a few opportunities to go for the tawafs. But I find that when you make that own personal conversation, bear it all, you speak directly to God.
In the language that you...
Yeah, it becomes really, really powerful. And when those are your own words,
that's
you're not reading somebody else's words. It becomes so powerful. And so I would suggest that even if you, maybe for the first one, you might, have that, comfort or security in following somebody else, find that opportunity to have that direct conversation. So we, of course, when you do tawaf, you can do it either on the ground level where the Kaaba is, or you can do level 1 or level 2. Of course, level 2 means that it takes you about 1 hour to make one circumambulation, one round around one lap around the Kaaba.
Right.
But because it was a long lap, you can have longer conversations with God. So that is a trade-off. And you find more space because it's generally a friendlier space to walk through.
That's right.
But there's also jostling and shoving and pushing on the ground level. So there are trade-offs. But try and find your own rhythm.
I want to join you with this thing about finding a rhythm, particularly in doing the tawaf, because I think a lot of us will be rushed into performing the Umrah. I actually feel that, every one of us should be given, especially for first timers, be given the opportunity to step in or step onto the mataf and do your own tawaf, just tawaf sunat sahaja. And then after that, the momentum. You'll be able to then really see where Hajar al-Aswad is, where the green light is, and so forth and so on. So, and I really, really think that the book is very helpful to, again, create the rhythm, but it will never be the same as what you said, to have that direct conversation in our own language, in our own tonality, in our own submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because, it's very different when you have conversation, when you say, Ya Allah. And when somebody says, Ya Aziz, you don't even know what Ya Aziz means. When somebody says, Ya Hakim, you don't know what Ya Hakim means. Although it is very useful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it doesn't strike a chord. So
because you're just so overwhelmed by the experience that you force yourself to conform to what the majority of people are doing. But that conversation is, and it's also overwhelming, especially when all I wanted to do was say, thank you Allah, thank you for this invitation, which takes half a second. And then there it was, tell me what you want to tell me. That's what it is, right? And when Ustad said that, thank you Allah, on the day we went back, and you were there, right? And he said in his dua that, thank you for inviting us. Please invite us again. When we came with all our problems and all our grievances. And that was so true, and then as you look out on that final view before we walk away and go home, every one of us has brought that.
Yeah.
And this was that space to be able to do that. But of course, Ustad reminded us that the Kaaba was a symbol. So we're not praying towards an entity of a black box, but a symbol of the unity of Islam, and that God is essentially everywhere. Just as you reminded me when we went to one of the open fields, Uhud, is it? There was a hill that had the word Allah there, and I said, "Oh look, there's Allah," and then he looked at me and says, "But Allah's everywhere." Oh yeah, remember that? Yeah.
Let's end this conversation with one from each of you. One word you would, or a phrase or an advice to those who are thinking about Umrah and those who are fearful about performing Umrah, as we all did, then we were fearful that we will not be accepted, or, will Allah allow us to even enter the Kaaba, or even allow us to have a drone image of Kaaba, So what would you like to extend to anyone who's listening to us today?
God is all merciful.
And why do you say that? And why is that important for you?
I had this conversation with a fellow Jum'ah as well. So I asked him how he felt about the Umrah. And maybe not surprisingly, his main issue was, is my ibadat going to be accepted or not? So he's worried that because of maybe certain things he has done in the past, certain transgressions, whether his act of devotion will be accepted by God. And I think that probably is true for a lot of people, right? Because you're worried, am I worthy of your invite? And to be honest, that's something that we both worry about as well. But I think if there's one major takeaway, is that God is so merciful, right? Despite all that you have done, these oceans of sins that you have done, God is all merciful. He forgives when He chooses to forgive. And I think it's such a wonderful experience. So my advice: don't think that you are never going to be forgiven, because God is all merciful. Of course, you prepare yourself for this trip, because it is a different trip.
Yeah.
But make that trip.
Yeah.
If you
make
can.
that trip. That's really, really nice. Oni?
I think it's for me, it's about honesty in finding your heart, and with that, once you're going to kind of find that honesty with your heart, that reconnection or the reconnections that you will make is in God's hands. But that honesty and that openness begins with an intention. The nawaitu is when it begins, right? When you intend, or you express an intention of wanting to be closer to God. It doesn't necessarily have to come in the form of, oh Allah, please invite me to Umrah. A lot of times people say that, but what does it really mean? And I remember that I think at the lowest of all points, that was when I think the nawaitu was made. Just in the little garden I have at my office next door. It was raining, and I wanted to step out, and you captured actually a video of me just holding up my hands, because rain is blessings, right? And I just said, Allah, thank you for whatever has happened today, and please, I'd like to be closer to you. Please bring me closer to you. I think that's important, the nawaitu and the openness to allow for things to reconnect in ways that Allah wills.
Yeah, and so, one of our friends, Pat Rahman, he was actually nudging us to do the Umrah for a while, I think.
Right.
When,
Your mother, was it? You don't remember your mother actually said.
Yeah. So very grateful for those, pieces of advice from friends who mean well. It's taken us a while to be here, but I think we are very, very thankful, alhamdulillah, that we made this trip.
Alhamdulillah.
So we hope that, what we shared in these videos will help people.
Can I share with you what I'm getting from this sharing?
Sure.
Firstly, being present with the two of you and your learning humbles me. That's one. Secondly is how you have taught me. In Allah's preparation for us to be in His presence, Allah has also extended the need for us to remember that worship, if it doesn't come with humility, it is something else. So you've taught me the importance of humilifying ourselves in performing our worship. And I think you've also broadened the concept of letting go and letting God into not just berserah, but in berserah, or letting God, you also allow space for you to be involved in shaping and reshaping, if not the act, but more so the meaning as a human, as a believer, as a mother, as a father, as couple. Thank you for allowing me to hear how you have beautifully encapsulated the Umrah experience to make it highly relational. And really, I join you with this idea about it's really about our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our relationship with each other, and also for our children, and hearing how it has transformed. May Allah continue to transform both of you and your family, and us all who's listening to this. And may Allah open doors for us to be there again together in worshipping and in unison with any other brothers and sisters of ours out there. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
Wow, it's really, really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I hope we did okay.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.